Hey, we're cooking with gas here on the Jewcast.
Okay, careful using a phrase like that.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
Tradition!
Oh, shut up, Carl! Shut your goddamn Jew mouth! You people are why there's war in the Middle East!
Gekakken auf ein Jahr.
Nebbech.
Ver Pupupu.
Vermischt.
Verkackt.
Vertutzt.
Verstunken.
Farted.
Exactly.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Oh my God, here we are, episode 95 of American Jew.
Just in time for Christmas.
I know, can you believe it? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
How's your week? How's your Christmas week going, Jordan?
I feel like, I don't really celebrate Christmas. I usually go to Christmas parties. I like a good Christmas party. I always say that December is my favorite month because it's the only month where being hungover on a Wednesday is normal for everybody. But that's sort of been the last 9 months.
Yeah, it's kind of been the whole year.
Yeah.
So I was at a party this weekend. I performed at a party.
Oh, really?
I got asked to do. Yeah, I know. It was in Jersey.
You actually mentioned this on the show last week that you got
in Tom's River. Yes. So I got asked to do a show. I was told it was for a bunch of Hasidic Jews.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, a little concerning. I don't want to get the COVID. They seem to be some super spreaders, but I was assured that it was going to be very safe. So we went and did the show. And first of all, it was in this house that, like, from the outside, it looked really nice. And then as soon as you got in, it was like the house was like not like completed. But they were having like a crazy party there. And these were not like any Hasids I have ever seen in my life. Okay. The guy who booked us for the show, first of all, was wearing the tightest pants I've ever seen a Hasid wear. I'm like, I had no idea they shopped at Urban Outfitters. And the second we get in there, he's like, what can I get you guys? Weed, Coke, alcohol. We're like, is he kidding? He's like, no, whatever you want. And then one of the other comedians says, oh, I'll have some Coke. And the guy's like, all right, I'll be right back. So he brings me back a whiskey. He brings a joint back. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry. We don't have Coke. And then he offers some other drug that I never even heard of.
Really?
I'm like, what is going on with these Hasids? They're Hasids like wearing leather jackets. They were all having this birthday party for their friend that they wanted roasted. They were like the most laid back Hasids I ever saw. They like kind of like walked the line between like Hasidic and Orthodox, I felt. Because they like looked like they all had the payas, but they like put them behind the ears. And like some of them you couldn't tell. I was making fun of one of the girls that she wasn't very dressed super modestly. But first of all, they hated the other comedians on the show. There were 3 other comedians besides myself on it. They didn't really like the other comedians. I was killing it until I said something anti-Trump, and they turned on me so fast. They started booing. They all started booing when I was talking about anti-Trump, and then like I was telling them Biden's still good for Israel, and I was like getting into it, and like it started like going away from comedy and just like me like being like, what is wrong with you people? Like, how can you fucking like Trump? Like he really doesn't have your best interest at heart. And then some girls started going off on me. That's why I can't meet a good girl, because I'm only dating Biden lovers, and if I dated a Trump supporter, she would be the good girl that I need in my life. And I was like, what is happening right now? Anyways, I was able to get them back. The show, was okay. I mean, in comparison to everybody else, I looked really good. Like after the show, everyone was like, you were the funniest comedian. I was like, thanks. Anyways, we were about to leave, and I catch a whiff of barbecue. I'm like, what's going on? So I go into the backyard, and they are grilling steaks like crazy, like so much meat. I could not believe it. I was like, what kind of party is this? I mean, they just spent like, where are the Hasids getting this money? Where they spent a bunch of money for the comedy show because they paid us pretty well, and then like the meat there and all the alcohol was crazy. Anyways, so then I was like talking to the guy barbecuing, and I was hanging out until like they gave me like a couple steaks. And they were delicious, and I brought them back for everybody to eat. Everyone was like, oh, we don't want any of this Jew food. And then I'm like, really? Like ribeyes and stuff. And they're like, oh, we want some of it. And, but it was the strangest experience I ever had, because I was like, what kind of Hasids are you people? Because I feel like I'm like Jewish light, or like diet Jew. But they were like Jewish, like light Hasids. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. They were just wanting to have an awesome party, and have some comedy shows, but it was definitely an experience.
How safe did you feel there? I mean, was it?
I mean, I wore a mask. We stayed away from like the kind of all the people. We didn't really like mingle with them. The closest I got was when I went to get the steak at the end. But I felt pretty good about it. Pretty safe. We wore a mask inside, stayed away. Most of them don't believe in COVID. And then they're like, "Oh, you believe in COVID?" Like I was doing some jokes about it. I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How do you know it's real?" I'm like, "'Cause I had it." They're like, "How do you know you had it?" I'm like, "Oh my God." And then they're like, "A lot of people here are doctors." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm glad your Jewish moms are happy, but COVID is still real." But it was like, I guess it was a pre-Christmas party for Jews, but it was, I did not expect to get offered Coke by a chassid.
That's interesting. I have to say, they wanted to be roasted, but they didn't want to be called out for their bullshit.
No, it's true.
That's like, pretty funny. Come roast us,
right?
Okay? And you start like shitting on their COVID practices. They're like, whoa.
Yeah, but it's so weird. And there's like this weird like Hasidic community, I guess, in Tom's River. I was actually looking into Christmas a little bit. Of course, Christmas is not a Jewish holiday. It celebrates the birth of Jesus. Most Jews go to the movies and eat Chinese food on Christmas. Which is kind of the inspiration for our guest this week. But actually, I was reading that like Christmas used to be a lot more secular. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Jews actually used to have Christmas trees. Theodor Herzl, the modern father of Zionism, he actually had a Christmas tree. And a lot of people just viewed it as secular. Even in Russia now, a lot of Jews still have it. They weren't originally allowed to celebrate Christmas. And it was more of like a secular holiday to them about like the time of year. And that's what the tree kind of represented. And that's why like a lot of them still have it. And also like Hanukkah wasn't really like a major holiday until Christmas became like a national holiday. And then Hanukkah went from being just like a little Jewish holiday to more significant because they didn't want Jewish children to feel left out. You used to get Hanukkah gelt.
Right.
And then Hanukkah money, and then it turned into gifts, and that was indirect because of people getting gifts on Christmas.
Right. Well, I think that the whole gift thing it's a nice thing, whatever. But I like the idea that a lot of these holidays, and especially a lot of the Jewish holidays, I think are about getting together with family and being thankful for what you already have, and especially having each other. I think that's a spirit of Christmas. Also, that's the whole. It's the reason why. All the best Christmas movies are about that kind of stuff. It's a Wonderful Life. My brother George, the richest man in town.
For sure. I mean, Christmas is the time usually where the families get together. That is like a Jewish tradition as well to get the families together, whether it's for Friday night dinner, whether it's for the holidays. So, but it's interesting to me how people want to say Hanukkah is the Jewish Christmas. They go, no, it's not, but like it is a little bit,
right?
Because, if it wasn't for Christmas, Hanukkah wouldn't be like what it is.
I mean, there's the old SNL sketch with Hanukkah Harry. John Lovitz as Hanukkah Harry takes over and he brings the kids gifts and the kids open them up and they're like, socks? He's like, 8 pair. Could you believe?
Well,
and the message that the kids take away from it is we shouldn't be jealous of our Jewish friends who get who get presents for 8 nights because these are the types of presents that they get.
Okay.
I always thought that was funny. Like, I mean, like that's, to me, that's like one of those jokes that it has more than just a kernel of truth to it. But it's also, I think that, the commercialism of Christmas is a little out of control. I think everybody can agree with that,
Well, for sure. And the same thing happened to Hanukkah. And a lot of Jews in Hanukkah use it as an opportunity to do good deeds, to do things, that are good for the community. Apparently, a lot of Jews used to dress up as Santa. They were like the Santa, and they go and they give presents to kids, and Tikkun Olam of repairing the world, making a better place. They saw this as an opportunity to practice that with Christmas. And yeah, you could go to a soup kitchen or try to do something nice for somebody else, which is both in the Christmas spirit and in the Jewish spirit.
Although I will say, we've always talked about how, I think we can all agree most of the best Christmas songs were actually written by Jews.
Yeah, I mean, Jews have a huge influence on, of course, entertainment, and
But-
I'm sure a lot of the Christmas movies were produced by them. I mean, I, of course, didn't celebrate Christmas growing up. It was definitely frowned upon. There was no way we were having a Christmas tree in our house. Even when I was like Santa, I was like, ooh, tell me, I want Santa. What's Santa? And my parents were like, Santa's not real, like, I'm like, oh, okay. I've celebrated a little bit, with some of my girlfriends, and like you were saying, Jordan, it's a nice time just to be around your family and try to put out good vibes and do good things in the world.
I did have my most Jewish Christmas ever a couple years ago when I got paid to perform comedy on Christmas Eve at a Chinese restaurant. And my Uber driver from the hotel to the show was Jesus. Like, Jesus literally took the wheel.
Delivering you.
Yeah. I told him I was on my way to perform a comedy show, and he told me that he believed in me. How do you like that?
That's good. Glad Jesus has got your back. I hope I hope he still believes in you 2 years later.
Listen, I believe in that Jesus. He got me there on time. I hope that he still believes in me, too.
Well, I believe in democracy.
Yeah.
Although Trump is trying to kill it. But we still got our boy running for the Senate in Georgia.
Yeah, we still got a Jew running for the Senate in Georgia, John Ossoff, and
John Ossoff.
The runoff, and it's, all four of the candidates in this runoff were reached out to by the Jewish community.
They kind of wanted to send messages to the Jewish community.
Well, the Atlanta Jewish Times put a call out to them to say, hey, if you have letters for our readers that why Jews should vote for you, we'll publish them. I
mean, David Perdue, who our boy John is running against, he has been accused of anti-Semitism. We talked about this earlier in the year on the podcast, how he released some images of John with like a very long nose. He elongated his nose, a Jewish stereotype. And he said nice things about Trump and what's going on in Israel, and they all want the Jewish vote. But Ossoff, everybody, if you live in Georgia, you got to vote for this guy. We really need to have more control of the Senate and more Jewish representation in it.
And also, I'll say this, the thing that I'm really sick of in politics across the board is that, too many of these people spend so much of their time vilifying the other side and telling them why the other guy is wrong for the job, when they should really be spending more time talking about the policies that they're going to try to enact and the ways that they're going to try to bring people together. Because, I think John Ossoff did a better job of that in his letter, talking about how he wants to make the Jewish, push certain Jewish ideals and give Jews in Georgia, a louder voice. But he still spent a fair amount of time also talking about how his opponents are a virulent and unrepentant anti-Semite.
Well, that's what he called Perdue, yeah.
Yeah, it's all a big mess down there.
Anti-Semitism isn't so black and white in politics anymore, I think that goes with Trump, too. Like, Trump does do things that are good for the Jews, but I do think at the core he does have anti-Semitic beliefs and values, even though his daughter converted and his son-in-law is a Jew. And he's done such great things for Israel, arguably. I mean, the peace deals are great, but was Israel really in war with any of those countries? No, they weren't. Speaking of which, there's going to be another election. I think the fourth election in 2 years. They still didn't figure out what's going on over there in the Knesset. Netanyahu is definitely clinging to power. He's trying to stay on as long as he could. Of course, he's up for corruption charges, and he doesn't want to go to prison for that. But
yeah, I mean, it's really a big mess over there as well. And I really have to say, the article that you sent me about the Diaspora Day that this woman tried to put together, Minister Yankovic, is interesting to think about. I mean, I feel like the Israeli politics, like as Americans, we're pretty involved in Israeli politics. The way that we talk about it. I mean, way more so than Israelis are at all involved in American politics.
Jews in America are interested in what's going on with Jews in Israel, opposed to Jews in Israel, don't really care about what's going on with Jews in America or Jews in the diaspora.
According to this article, they say that Netanyahu really doesn't care so much for anybody that's outside of Israel. But I think that this question that this article asks is pretty interesting. She asks specifically things about Judaism and what it means to be a Jew in the world that I think you and I talk about with frequency. And I don't know if there are any easy answers to some of these, but they are interesting questions. And they're, questions like does the Jewish world bring Jews to the Torah? Does Israel have a Jewish soul, or is everything defined by coalition politics? Does Israel only belong to the Orthodox establishment? How does Israel support and recognize all Jews, including Reform and Conservative? Will Israel have a constitution that will separate synagogue from state someday? How does Israel start down a path to peace with the Palestinians? Like, these are all questions that I think we talk about that there are no. I don't think there is any one correct answer. I think there are only wrong answers that have been put on the table and talked about seriously for the most part. It's interesting to sort of be on, as Americans, to sort of be on the sidelines about it. I feel like we go out of our way to really try to understand some of the issues happening in Israel and facing Israeli Jews. But it doesn't feel like the Israeli government takes a lot of American Jews' opinions about it seriously. And it certainly doesn't have really any understanding of what it is to be a Jew in America, I think. I don't
think they're too concerned with that. They're more, worried about what's going on over there and keeping the Jewish state. And I guess a lot of them don't consider us to be actually like real Jews.
I think that's one of the biggest gaps that we still need to work on as a people. The Diaspora Day thing that she put together, it wasn't well attended. Nobody knew about it. It's like it didn't get a lot of word of mouth from Jewish leaders in power, So I think it's an interesting idea. I like the idea of finding more ways to pool our collective need to connect and bring people to Judaism. So, more food for thought of how, 2021 may possibly have some of these conversations being taken place.
Definitely. It's almost like Israel's living in like their own little world, and they don't really care what American Jews think, even though they are representing kind of all Jews, whether they like it or not. People just automatically associate Israel with Jews. The woman was also pretty upset, and a lot of people are upset about who they hired to run Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Memorial in Israel. They hired an ex-military person who was responsible for ordering people to beat to death a Palestinian who was like tied up. And a lot of people are like, how are we having like a guy that's filled with hate be in charge of the Holocaust Museum? Like, it doesn't seem like a good combo, a good mix.
These are all really troubling things. Hopefully in the new year we can all get together and start loving on each other a little more. Trying to find a good segue to talk about our guest today.
We talked about how on Christmas Jews like to usually eat Chinese food to see the movies. So we decided to have our pal, Brian Jian, who is a comedian of Chinese descent on the show. And we're thrilled to have him.
Yeah, let's let him in.
Hello.
Yeah, shalom.
Hey, nice. Like it, Brian.
What's going on, brothers?
Yeah, nice to have you here.
Glad to have you on the show, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
We always joke about how, Jews and China go have Chinese food on Christmas because, it's one of the few places that's open. And as it turns out, it's also the few people, that are available for bookings on Christmas.
That's right. Food and podcasting. That's just us on Christmas.
Yeah.
We're not like those Goyim who take the fucking day off. We work, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
hey, I like it.
I told you, I'm from Great Neck, Long Island.
Yeah.
So you grew up around a lot of Jewish people.
All Jews. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when was like your first time you like learned about Judaism, met a Jewish person?
When I started school, like elementary school. Well, I moved to Long Island in third grade. So, yeah, 8 years old.
Wow. All right.
But I never really, it never really occurred to me that, these are different people. It was just, you believe this thing called Judaism? Okay. And we just, played.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can curse, right?
Yeah, you can curse.
Fuck yeah.
Did you have an opinion at all about Judaism growing up? Was it more based on like the Jewish people that lived in your community and went to your school, or more based on like what you heard about the religion?
I mean, honestly, I didn't hear too much about it before I met Jewish people, so I didn't have that. You know what I mean? That there was like that stigma to prove me. You know, oh wow, I thought Jewish people were so this way, and then I was proven wrong. It was just regular kids.
Yeah.
Although I will say that they were more so Great Neck is like it's pretty big, and you have the Great Neck North, Great Neck South is split into 2 school districts, and the Great Neck North was more Persian Jews, and I think slightly more Orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but most of the kids in high school, they were like Reformed.
Right. Did you get invited to a lot of bar mitzvahs, bar and bat mitzvahs?
Oh, between 12 to 13, it was like every other week was another bar mitzvah. It was great.
Yeah.
Did you want one? Were you jealous?
Yeah. But I knew. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just a participant. It doesn't have to always be about me. But it was so fun. I mean, you know, as a 12, 13-year-old kid, it was awesome.
So I always feel like the kids that are not Jewish that get invited to that stuff, like they don't really know much about it beyond the party.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there wasn't that much like what do you call it, cultural stuff. It was just an excuse to throw a party, really. Yeah. So the kids, I mean, if anything, we just had to wear like a jacket and a tie. That's about it.
Right.
Did you wear a yarmulke?
No, I didn't.
Did you go to temple for any of the bar mitzvahs?
I mean, it was open to us. We were invited, but I don't think a lot of us went. I went maybe a third of the time because I couldn't make it. You know, I was like, I just want the party anyway. I mean, to be honest.
You were a crazy 13-year-old, just wanted to let loose.
Yeah.
How about in your household, up, baby, growing up? Like, did your parents ever say anything about Judaism or have any opinions of Jewish people or anything?
Not really. I mean, it was all different because like my parents, they're immigrants from Taiwan, so everything was kind of new to them, you know. Yeah, they didn't hear too much about, you know, like if there was like negative stereotypes, they didn't. I don't even think they were aware of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What did you guys celebrate growing up? Did you guys celebrate Christmas?
No. I mean, we you know, on the block, we knew that there was a thing, so they always set up the tree from like December until, you know, we took it down like in May and June. That's not a joke. We kept it up like all year. We got to take it down. But yeah, no, it was just we never really celebrated it. You know, we're just working. It was just working.
Were you more interested in Christmas or Hanukkah?
Probably, honestly, it was a little bit. I had no idea. I was shocked when I learned just how few Jewish people there are in the world. Because growing up, like my whole world was all Jewish kids. So I thought, it's just, you know, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. Maybe like I heard about Muslim, but there weren't that many, you know, in my town growing up. So I thought it was just like, you know, split like in 3-4 different ways, like equally. So yeah, Hanukkah was like a thing. Like, yeah, shoot. And I said, wait, you get like how much? It was like 8 days Hanukkah. I was like, wait, it was more than just one day. That was very enticing. You could really sell that on to a lot of kids.
Okay, yeah, because it sounds like you didn't really celebrate any of the holidays. So I didn't know, like growing up as a kid, if you were like, oh, I want to, you know, go to Santa or I want to light a menorah.
Yeah. It was. I knew it was different. I mean, that I knew. Oh, it was like, you know, the Jewish people did this, Christian did that. That's Christmas, but I never thought, oh, it was like one was more or better than the other. It was just
like you weren't interested in one more than the other, or like drawn to one over the other.
No, definitely no. I mean, you know, you watch TV, you know, they it's like culturally speaking, you got the hard sell on Christmas. You definitely felt like that was a bigger thing. I noticed. I remember as a kid, like, where's all the Hanukkah commercials and the Hanukkah themes and the TV shows and the sitcoms? I think we're all about the same age. You know, we also like Family Ties, Growing Pains, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they never did anything Hanukkah-y. So I was like, hey, what's up with that?
Right. There was never a Hanukkah episode on a lot of those shows. Maybe on The Nanny. But that was even
got more Hanukkah stuff.
Yeah.
I think Sandler has the 8 Crazy Nights movie, and that's like one of the probably best representations of Hanukkah in the
Yeah. When did that song come out? That was like in the early 90s. So that was like
late 90s.
Late 90s. Okay, yeah, it was a junior high school. I remember. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
No, that was a very fun song, and say what you want about Sandler and some of his recent movie choices, but he has exposed Judaism to a wider audience, with the Hanukkah song for sure.
Yeah.
Which apparently there are tons of different versions of.
Well, yeah, he does he updates it every year. Whenever he was doing live shows, he always updates the references.
Oh yeah, that's smart. Yeah, because every so often, there's another Jewish guy in the news. Yeah, you got to incorporate him, to keep the young people engaged. Because who's really going to understand, Goldie Hawn and Paul Newman, right? Some kid on TikTok is going to know that reference.
Yeah.
You ever date a Jewish girl, Brian?
Yeah, but not. Throughout school, I was never the popular kid. Believe it or not, I wasn't in the in crowd. But it wasn't until I was in my late 20s, early 30s that I met this girl. She was also from Long Island, but we met in the city. She was kind of dabbling in comedy. That's how we kind of met each other. We did for maybe a couple months. That's about it though.
Yeah.
But growing up, oh my God, I had so many crushes on the girls in my school. Yeah.
I think that's really funny that, you grew up on Long Island, like New York and Florida. Those are the two basic Jewish strongholds. It's a disproportionate number of Jews in those areas. And to find out that we're only a couple of percentage points of the general population of the world after that.
I was shocked.
And then you end up in comedy, which also has a disproportionate number of Jews, just
right.
Jewish.
I came back home.
It was either this or the Sparta business.
I know, you couldn't pick between Christmas or Hanukkah, but it seems like you're more on the Jew side, Brian.
Oh, yeah. You could take the boy out of Long Island, but you can't take the Long Island out of the boy. Although, only the North Shore of Long Island. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Long Island, but the North Shore of Long Island is mostly Jewish, and a couple of small little towns here and there, but mostly it's Irish and Italian, really.
Yeah.
Well, at least back then. Now I hear it's a lot more Asian. There's a whole Indian, influx. So, have
you ever seen any anti-Semitism? Seen anybody be anti-Semitic?
Outrightly, no. You hear little things here and there. I've heard things about being Asian. You hear Jew this, Jew that, but nothing what do you call it? Over the top.
Yeah, nothing so overt.
Yeah. But
you grew up in Long Island around a lot of Jews, and then you got in comedy a lot of Jews. Are there? Do you think the Jewish stereotypes are right, are wrong?
It's weird because so many of the stereotypes of Jewish people, I'm that sounds a lot like Chinese people. Really, you work hard, you try to be a doctor, a lawyer. That sounds just like what my parents always stressed to me.
Have over demanding parents.
Right. Yeah. There's a weird son mother dynamic that you never really get. You never really shake throughout your entire life. It's a very weird thing, but a lot of similarities. I've always felt.
Yeah, I've definitely seen stuff like that. It's always about especially the Jewish mothers want you to settle down, and they want you to marry other Jews. They want you to make sure that you're with another Jewish person.
Which is a very Asian thing too. I guess they want to keep it Asian. They don't want people, right?
Yeah, more or less. I guess not so much. You do still. It also depends because for Asian women, a lot of Asian women marry white guys, and but Asian guys don't necessarily do that. But that's more of a weird, maybe quasi-racial thing going on. But in terms of just parental pressure of marrying within your culture, not so much. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why. I always thought it was more. I must have seen a TV show or movie, and I was that's the way it is. That's just got to be it.
Oh, you mean about Asian mothers wanting their kids to marry Asian?
Yes.
Oh,
keep it Asian.
Not really. Maybe it's just my family. I don't know.
Okay. There is a thing also that that Jewish guys love Asian girls.
Yeah. I've heard that. Yeah.
I'm not
And Asian
sure
women love
like
Jewish
where
guys.
that comes from. What do you think?
I've also heard that a lot of Asian women like Jewish guys.
Okay. Why do you
But
think that is?
I don't know. Maybe it's just like there is like a familiarity with the not the culture, but like a familiarity with the
family dynamic.
With
the
values.
family dynamic, the parental sort of, like your familial priorities, that's kind of like familiar and something that we're used to, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the parents are like you're kind of close to your parents, but not your family, but not really, but kind of, but not really. And we are sort of like that too.
So you think it's like the similarities that like we were talking about earlier and having that kind of stuff in common.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Jewish guys just like Asian women. They think they're exotic looking, and
I've heard that.
Some think they're more subservient.
Well, I'll just say,
yeah, I mean,
if you've heard that, Asian women like Jewish men, like that's a reason for me to like Asian women right there. I don't need anything more than that. You already are, have a proclivity for me. Let's do this.
I know. Yeah. I mean, any leg up I can get, right?
Right.
I've seen Asian women on J-Swipe.
Have you?
Yeah. I'm like, you're not Jewish.
Do you see any Asian guys on J-Swipe?
I don't know. I'm not looking for guys, bro.
It's filtered by gender. Like you don't.
Yeah, all the dating apps you pick which gender you want.
Oh, I missed that whole thing. I've been with my girl for 10.
You've been with your girl for 10 years.
Oh no, I said approaching 10. Yeah, so I missed the whole dating app thing. I never got familiar with that.
Is she Asian? Your girlfriend?
No. She's Nigerian.
She's Nigerian. Okay.
All right.
How's that going? Do people make rude comments to you when you walk down the street together?
Not really, no. They just think I'm like delivering food to her or something. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Where did you guys grow? Are you guys? You're from Florida, right, John?
I'm from Miami Beach, Florida. Yeah.
Right.
And I grew up here in New York.
You're right. You're from Manhattan, right, Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jordan grew up in the city with all the Jews in New York.
What part of the city? What part of it?
I grew up in the Village, right by Washington Square.
That's right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I was raised very, very reform. Like my family, we had a Christmas tree one year.
Wow.
Also, like it was like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. To be fair, my dad wasn't going to spend a lot, but it was. We've always done Hanukkah mostly, but Hanukkah now it's like it just after a couple of days it's like, all right, do we have candles left? It peters out.
Have you heard a lot about like different Jewish customs, and has there been like anyone that you've been like that is really weird or strange?
Weird or strange? No. I mean, and I'm still kind of learning more and more about it. Like, I know Rosh Hashanah, that's the big one. Everyone thinks like it's Hanukkah because they equate that to Christmas, but that's not even Hanukkah. It's Rosh Hashanah. That's a big one. And like
Jewish
Yom Kippur. Yeah. Those are the big ones, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of like but it also depends on like how, observant you are. Like Jordan, you say like reformed. It's, you kind of like you have a Christmas tree, lingering in the background, but then you keep going down the line.
Right.
And then you get more and more like observant and more strict about the customs. I remember my physics teacher in high school. He was a pretty Orthodox Jewish guy, and he always came in with the strap
to fill in.
Yeah. But it wasn't tied on, obviously. But I remember every morning I came in and he had the imprint of that thing. So I was like, what is he tying to his arm every day? And then afterwards, okay, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, what is that? Some Jewish bondage thing? What's happening there?
Right.
Yeah, what is he doing? Heroin? tying one off. I guess I mean, I'm sure there has to be some Jewish junkie somewhere that has definitely done that.
Yeah,
probably.
Keep your heroin in that little box.
Just to fill in.
What is that tradition about? What is that practice of? Can you?
I mean, go ahead.
It's like a prayer.
There are prayers inside of them too, and you're supposed to pray with them on in the morning.
It's like a daily ritual thing.
Yeah, except for on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
You don't wear them on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you thought those were kind of weird. Let me ask you, when you're doing jokes, when you're writing jokes, have you ever written jokes using Jewish stereotypes? How do you feel? Are you like against that because you're not Jewish? Are you cool with that?
I mean, listen. I mean, you guys when you start out, you're like that. When I started out, I'll speak for myself. They're like the hackiest. You know what I mean? Even to this day, let's be honest, I'm a little hacky. But you're just grasping for straw. You just pull anything that works. God, like I did it. Hacky Asian stuff, racial stuff, sex stuff, everything. And then as you progress, you kind of weed that stuff out. So I'm sure it had some awful stuff. So how do I feel about it now? I guess it's the old comedy rule. If it's funny, it's funny. But try to. Now, of course, in this day and age, you got to be very sensitive to how people feel, and I'm never trying to piss people off. So
right.
You kind of balance that.
I think it always works when you see somebody that's not Jewish using Yiddish words properly. Like that always works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Israel, Brian?
Never, but I was part of the Hebrew Culture Club in my junior, senior year of high school, and we took a trip down to, because that was the year when the Holocaust Museum first opened. So it was like, and I saw it on, I think 60 Minutes. They did a piece on that, and I was like, oh my God, I really want to go. And then lo and behold, the Hebrew Culture Club, they were going to take a trip down there, like a weekend trip to DC, and I'm like, oh, I'm going. I want to go. So that was like the closest I've ever been to like taking a trip to,
Well, that's a
real Jewish type of thing.
But that's pretty Jewish too, like finding a way to get a free trip, even if it's just to DC.
Yeah. Is that the only reason you joined the club?
Huh?
Was that the only reason you joined the club, to go on the trip?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't part of it, so then that enticed me. But then I was part of it afterwards too.
And did you learn any Hebrew?
No.
Yeah. What did the Jewish Culture Club do?
Nothing. We just sat around, ate pizza, and just talked shit. That's it.
Okay.
Very non-Hebrew culture, but we did.
What do you mean? What do you mean we're not doing anything Jewish? We're schmoozing right now. We're kibitzing. We're schmoozing. We're
eat some bagels, schmooze.
Yeah.
Bitch. Yeah,
exactly.
When it comes to the Holocaust, was that something that you became educated in school or at home?
Oh, at school for sure. Yeah, my parents didn't know anything about Jewish Hebrew culture. I mean, they knew Jewish people, but they didn't. We didn't talk too much about that.
What did you think when you first heard about the Holocaust and learned about it as a non-Jewish person?
It was fucking horrifying, because at the first. I didn't really know too much about the history behind it. So, I just saw documentaries, stuff like that, the black and white photographs, which were like, oh my God. And, but it really made me, interested in history and just the type of fucked up shit that so many people went through. It was fascinating.
What did you think of the Holocaust Memorial when you went there?
Oh my God. It just opened up, so it was really state of the art. I haven't been back since. I want to go. I hear that they probably added new stuff. I want to go check it out. I remember going there and just seeing all the exhibits. It's stuff that I had already learned, but it was just to see it, in a
powerful museum
display with a moderator. It was different.
Why, Brian? Anti-Semitism is kind of on the rise all around the world. Why do you think, as a non-Jewish person, that is?
The same reason why everyone gets, everyone's just looking for a scapegoat. And half the time, not even half the time, like most of the time when they say someone's like, it's their fault, it's those people. I'm like, do you know them? Do you have anybody in your life like them? Because it's so easy to say them, those people, them. Do you know them? Do you have a friend, a coworker, a colleague? Have you immersed yourself, exposed yourself?
That's just the pronouns they like.
No. It's them. I know, it's them. Those are the people who are they start all the problems. Do you have one person in your life that's in that culture group? No, but I know. Then how do you know that? So that's why I think everyone's always looking for scapegoats, always trying to point a finger. It's never me. It's always those people. Yeah, it's a basic human fucked upness.
I know. Okay. I like to think that I don't hate groups. I hate individuals.
Yeah, that's a much safer way to look at it. But yeah. I don't know. I mean, specifically, why the rise in anti-Semitism? I don't know. What are your theories?
One of my theories is because of Israel's treatment of the Palestinian people.
All right. Yeah.
Especially in Europe. I mean, I don't know what you know about this situation or what your feelings are, but we would love to hear them if you have any.
I mean, I just recently, like in the last 5-10 years, become aware of the fact that there's this huge, if you're pro-Israel, then you somehow you support state-sponsored terrorism just because you have some sort of connectivity. You can't be pro-Israel but also be anti-mistreatment of people. It's like so many issues I think have become so entwined, which to me, growing up, obviously, I had a lot of Jewish friends and grew up in a Jewish community. I was always pro-Israel, or at least I thought I knew what that meant. But it's become, being pro-Israel now, just in my humble opinion, it's become twisted to think if you say you're pro-Israel, you're also for the mistreatment of Palestinians. Why is it so black and white? I never understood that,
Well, it's also black and white on the other side of that issue too, that we've talked about this on the show a lot, about how being anti some of the policies and that Israel has and the treatment that they have towards the Palestinian people, to be anti that is equated with being anti-Semitic in a lot of political circles. And, I think it's hard to get to jump over that hurdle as well. Ideologically, I think it's hard to disassociate the Judaism from either one of those arguments, Yeah.
Do you think, it has a lot to do with also how we look at just politics in general now, which is if you're not with us, you're with them. There's no nuance. There's just no compromise. There's no meeting in the middle. It's just everything's if you're not 100% on my side of the aisle, then you're the enemy, or you're with those people over there, and we don't like you.
That's definitely something that Trump is perpetrating that hopefully, will stop when Biden becomes president. That's one thing I really admired about Biden's speeches when he won. They were about inclusion and bringing people together, while Trump's kind of you don't like me, screw you. You don't like me, go to hell. You're the worst,
But do you think that just because Trump is out of the office, which, I think most people, obviously 8 million more people voted for him than Biden than Trump. But do you think it's just he was the cause of this, or he's just a symptom of it? You know what I mean?
I don't know if he didn't caused it, but he kind of he's pouring gasoline on the fire. As a minority, Brian, do you feel more of a kinship with other minorities like Jewish people or African Americans than you do with just those regular whites?
Those are white. Sometimes I do. Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I can definitely relate to certain issues more so than I think other people can, because of, it's just to use a very hacky analogy. It's you can paint a more detailed picture painting if you have a more diverse palette. You want to experience as much as you can in your life and know different types of people and travel and do all that stuff, so you have a more diverse palette, so then you could paint a more descriptive picture, if that makes sense. When I meet someone who's like a minority, someone who's nothing like me, but let's say someone who's like a Jewish person, or someone who's an Arab Muslim, or someone who, for example, a couple of years ago when we had the Muslim travel ban, I immediately harked back to when there was like these pictures that said this is a white town. No, Japs move out. Right. No Japs allowed in this town. Stuff like that. So it depends on what specifically, but I could more relate. But I wouldn't say just generally. Oh yeah, I relate totally.
Okay.
Have you ever been booked on one of those on a Jewish show? Have you ever done like a synagogue show?
A synagogue, no, but I have done, I think, a show that's like a Jewish show, but like half the comics weren't even Jewish, so it's I don't know what to make of that.
How'd it go?
It was good. It might have been like around this time of the year too. This is years ago. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've done something like that. Maybe it was at the Laugh Lounge. I don't know.
At the Laugh Lounge, yeah,
it could have been.
An old club that we used to perform at on the Lower East Side that closed way before COVID.
Yeah.
They had no excuse.
Right? I mean, there's not even a pandemic that closed that place down. Just poor attendance.
The host was very good, though.
What? Oh, thank you.
Host.
I hosted there a lot. Brian's being nice. Brian, we ask our guests these questions. If you could celebrate one Jewish holiday, which one would you celebrate? Which one's the most appealing to you?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is obviously Hanukkah because you get so many gifts, right? I mean, I heard that it's not even necessarily one good gift. It's like a bunch of small gifts.
It depends on the family.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm Chinese, and in our culture, New Year's is a huge deal. That's like the thing. So maybe, Russia, let's see what the Jewish holiday.
Okay.
How that's celebrated. Maybe I'll try that.
What do you guys do for New Year's?
Oh my God. I mean, first of all, have you ever seen those red envelopes?
Yep.
The Chinese red envelopes. So you put money inside, and if you're not married, all your relatives have to give you money, literally cash. Every relative has to give you like a red envelope. I think that's the demarcation. If you're married, once you get married, you don't get the money anymore. But before you are married,
that doesnme seem like an incentive to get married at all.
I know. Exactly. I mean, I'm in my 40s, and I'll still get money. I'm like, hey, you owe me a couple bucks, uncle, whatever. So, I mean, you eat a big meal, all the family comes over, there's fireworks and the dragging, the line dancing. Everybody takes off. I mean, here in the U.S. it's big, but like in, Asia and China and, all those other countries, it's like the whole country shuts down. It's like the Super Bowl to the 10th power.
Do you have a favorite like Jewish food?
I mean, could I say bacon lox, or is that kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it originated in the shtetls.
I mean, if I could.
But like, hey, can I say it? Is it offensive? A bagel and lox?
I know. Can I say that?
No, it's delicious. Do you have a favorite bagel in New York?
I used to like Essa bagel. Is that like Americanized, or is that
sure.
authentic?
It is funny that you're so like concerned about whether or not it's considered Jewish or not. Like this is not some sort of schmear campaign,
You never know. Someone's gonna take this.
Another by Jordan. Do you have a favorite Jew? It could be anybody from the Bible, from entertainment, from history.
So, accused? How about accused?
Are you a big Woody Allen fan?
I mean, who isn't? Right? If you could separate the art from the artist.
His family, that's who isn't. You have a last name Pharaoh, you're not a big fan.
Right. My favorite Jew of all time? Serious answer? I mean, I've been. It's just so. Even this before John asked me to do the podcast, I was reading Anne Frank, just like the stuff that she was writing at 13.
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s. I don't have like half of the maturity that she had.
Right.
I wrote this down.
And she didn't have an editor or a publisher or anything. She's, just.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like they found her diary. Her father found her diary. Or no, somebody found her diary and gave it to her father. And her father tried to get it published. So maybe it went through some editing process.
Right.
But it definitely did, because there's the whole thing that there were parts in it that were like she was interested in women, and they took all that out.
I mean, and I really wrote, like, she quote, "I keep my ideals because in spite of everything, I still believe people are good at heart." And she wrote that, she was 13 when she wrote that, when she was literally being persecuted by the Nazis. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So she literally was hiding in an attic, and she still said, "I think those people who are trying to kill me, I still think they're good at heart." She was 13 years old when she said that. I don't know.
Crazy.
I'm starting to bring the show down, but
that's a good quote. No, not at all.
If I can give you a serious a funnier answer, I mean, who doesn't like Adam Sandler? Right?
So many great good representation of the Jews.
Right. Adam Sandler and Anne Frank.
Those are the two ends of the spectrum, I'd say.
Adam Sandler starring as Anne Frank's dad in the new Anne Frank movie.
Only on
Go to hide in the attic. No, I'm not. Horrible. That's a bad Sandler impression. When was Anne Frank someone that you became aware of when you were in school?
Yeah, for sure. I remember seeing, trying to look for her thing in the Holocaust Museum.
And what prompted you at this stage of your life to go back and read up on her stuff?
You know, like how divided our country is and how we blame everything. Everybody blames the other side. They're those people, they're the bad people. They're the bad people. And there's so much hate. And I was trying to write a bit about it. And I'm like, wasn't there a quote from Anne Frank? And so I Googled it and so I wrote that down as research for like a bit that I was kicking around in my head.
Okay.
It's hilarious to be like, I want to write a bit about this. Oh, let me do some historical research about this. Like, I feel like a piece of shit now.
Right.
That's how I would approach that. Like, I just turned an Anne Frank quote that was really inspiring into a bit.
Have you been to Amsterdam, Brian?
Never. I want to go for so many reasons, but yeah, that's definitely my.
Well, Brian, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, come visit me in my my apartment. That's the only place I'm doing comedy these days. Social media, I guess. But I'm barely on social media anymore.
Yeah, you're not on the TikTok?
No, I should, right? Everyone's doing that.
Yeah, Jonathan's on the TikTok.
You guys would be great. Yeah, we should. What are we doing? Let's all do some TikTok.
What are we doing?
Hey, why not? You know, got a lot of time on our hands now, not doing the shows. You want to perform,
Exactly.
you know. You can make a video and it can reach 1,000 people. Even if you go do one of these park shows, there's only maybe 50 if you're lucky.
Right.
And the way, social media has changed the landscape of comedy and performing. And, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, like if you could amass a following on those sites, that's like all you need these days. And you're at Brian Jian on social media?
Yeah. Or Instagram is John Brian. Just the name backwards.
He doesn't care if you follow him at all. He wants you to follow us, American
Follow
Jew
John
Podcast.
Randall and Jordan Ferber. They're hilarious. They're funnier than me. Don't
Or
waste your time
sign
on
up
my
for
show.
our Patreon.
There you go.
Yes, indeed.
Follow me by signing up for their Patreon.
Perfect. Well, good to talk to you, buddy. Good to see you, even if it's not in person.
Great seeing you guys.
Yeah, thanks for being so candid with us and your thoughts about Jews.
I love you guys. You guys are some of the funniest dudes I've met in comedy. That's no joke, man. I love watching you guys.
Nice. I know. I really wanted. I was hoping Brian was going to get more spicy stuff about growing up, maybe his family being anti-Jewish or having bad experiences with Jews. But he's a friend of Jews, Brian. He loves Anne Frank. He quotes Anne Frank. I don't even quote Anne Frank.
She's a good egg.
The genius of any good show is in the booking, Jonathan. You book the people that you want to have, and they come and they shine. We don't script this. We just book the talent and we get it going, baby.
Going, baby.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Brian. We hope you had a happy Hanukkah and you have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you, guys. You too. I love you guys.
Hopefully see you soon, Brian.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Oh, boy. Well, thank you so much to Brian Jian for coming by the show. Make sure you follow him on social media. We'll put the links into the show notes. And have a Merry Christmas, guys. I hope you are following us on social media. It's pretty much, as American Jews, that's all we really want for Christmas, right?
Well, we'd also like it if you followed our Patreon and signed up.
Yes, and it will be the gift that keeps on giving to you.
Definitely. And, of course, you can follow us across social media platforms at American Jew Podcast. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, whether they're Jewish or not. And remember, Jesus was a Jew, so it's cool to celebrate another Jew's birthday and do something nice for somebody, whether they're Jewish or not, to be in the holiday spirit. And you can, of course, follow me on everything or just send me money at Jonathan Randall.
Yes, and you can follow me on Instagram at BeatNickNudnick. You can always follow my other podcast, Where's the Grief? Happy holidays to everybody. We will be here next week to ring in the new year with you.
Merry Christmas.